Okay, today we're going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to say, I can add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. Let's start by looking at an addition problem with like denominators. Let's find the sum of 2/5 and 4/5. Since they have the same denominator, I only have to add the numerators. 2 plus 4 is 6, and I always keep the denominator. Now I need to change this improper fraction into a mixed number and make sure that it's in simplest form. 6/5 is 1 1/5. Another quick example, 3/4 plus 3/4. Since the denominators are the same, I can add the numerators, 6/4, and turn that into an improper fraction, 1 2/4, and make sure that I simplify, 1 1/2. The same rules apply to subtraction. If I have the same denominators, all I need to do is subtract the numerators. 11/12 minus 5/12 equals 6/12. Then I need to go and simplify, 1/2. When I have different denominators, I have an extra step in my problem. I cannot add 1/2 and 2/3 in the form that they're written currently. So what I need to do is change the denominators so that I have a common denominator. And I can do this by finding a common multiple of 2 and 3. Now finding the least common multiple will give me the smallest numbers to work with, but you do not have to use the least common multiple. In this case, I'm going to. The least common multiple of 2 and 3 is 6. So if I've made my denominator 6, I need to then convert my numerators so that I have equivalent fractions. So 1/2 becomes 3/6, and if you'll notice, 1/2 is equal to 3/6. So all I've done was make equivalent fractions. 2/3 will become 4/6 because 3 times 2 is 6 and 2 times 2 is 4. Now that I have common denominators, I can add my numerators. 3 plus 4 is 7, and I keep the 6, 7/6. I'm not done yet because I need to put this improper fraction in simplest form as a mixed number, and I get 1 1/6. I will not always have to change both denominators. In this case, 8 is a multiple of 4, so I don't need to change 5/8. I only need to change 3/4. I do this by making common denominators. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. Now since I have two fractions with common denominators, I only need to add the numerators and keep the denominator. 6 plus 5 is 11, so my sum is 11/8. Now I need to convert that into an improper fraction in simplest, a mixed number in simplest form, 1 3/8. If I wanted to add 1/4 plus 2/3, I need to find a common denominator. So I'm looking for a multiple of 4 and 3 that is common. In this case, 4 and 3 can both go into 12. Now I need to convert my numerators so that I have equivalent fractions. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8. Now I need to add my numerators and keep the denominator, 11/12. Since this is in simplest terms, I do not need to worry about going on any further. My answer is 11/12. Subtraction is the same way. Works the same way as addition. I need to find a common denominator. Well, since 12 and 4 can both go into 12, that's the least common multiple, I only need to convert 1/4. 4 times 3 is 12, so now I need to multiply the numerator by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, just like with addition, I'm only going to compute the numerators. So 11 minus 3 is 8, and I keep the denominator 12. Now I need to simplify 8/12. If I divide 8 and 12 by 2, I get 4/6, but this is still not in simplest terms. So I need to find a common factor of 4 and 6, which is 2, and I get 2/3. That's my final answer. When I'm dealing with mixed numbers, I have one extra step. First, just like when I'm adding and subtracting proper fractions, I need to convert my fractions so that they have common denominators. Since 4 and 8 can both go into 8, 8 is my common denominator that I'm going to use. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I add my fractions together. 6/8 plus 5/8 is 11/8. I have to remember to convert that into a mixed number in simplest terms, and I get 1 3/8. The final step, or the next step, is to deal with the whole numbers, and I do that by adding them together. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have two different sums, and I need to put those two sums together. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So my final answer is 3 3/8. I like to set up my problems vertically. It does not change what I need to do though. If I wanted to take 1 7/8 and subtract 1 1/2, I still need to make common denominators. So I'm going to look at my two fractions, and I'm going to subtract those fractions first. Well, in order to do that, I need to have common denominators. Since 2 and 8 can both go into 8, I'm going to use 8 as my common denominator. 2 times 4 is 8, so I have to multiply 1 times 4 and get 4. Now I subtract 7/8 minus 4/8. That gives me 3/8. Just like when I'm adding mixed numbers, I now need to go and subtract my whole numbers. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Finally, I put my two answers together, and I get 3/8. One more example before I let you go on your own. 2 3/4 minus 1 1/3. Notice I do not have common denominators, so I need to find a number that 4 and 3 can both go into. I'm going to choose 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is, 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. I have made equivalent fractions. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. So now I'm subtracting 9/12 minus 4/12. And I get 5/12 because I only need to subtract the numerators. I keep the denominator the same. Next, I subtract my whole numbers. 2 minus 1 is 1. Finally, I put my answers together, and I get 1 5/12. Now it's your turn. Find each sum or difference in simplest form. You can go back and watch any part of this video again. Pause the video now and complete numbers 1 through 6 in your notebooks. Don't forget to WSQ.